Next, we have the key panel 2, Advancing Investigations in the Aftermath of White Collar Crime. For the same, I would like to call on stage our moderator, Mr. Suvajit Chakrabarti, Associate General Counsel and Regional Director, Legal and Compliance at Revity. Please give a huge round of applause, everyone. Joining him on stage are our speakers, Mr. Debashish Roy Chaudhary, General Counsel and Head Legal, Compliance and Secretarial at InSolutions Global Limited. Let's give a warm round of applause, everyone. Next, we have Mr. Asim Syed, Head Legal, Company Secretary and Associate Director at Pepperfry. Please join me in a big hand of applause, everyone. Joining them on stage is our next speaker, Flora Das, Head of Legal, APAC Counsel and Compliance Officer at Carestream Dental. Please have a huge round of applause, everyone. We can start with the session. Thank you.
Hello. I think I have been given the toughest task now after a sumptuous lunch. I have to keep people awake for an hour on a discussion on white collar crime, which is anyways a little dry topic. So let me try my best to do what I can. So you have heard the name of the people in this August panel, if I put it in layman's word, what exactly this panel will do, this panel is basically a panel which will tell you how to do the post-mortem after the white collar crime has happened. We will start with a basic opening remark, then we'll have some questions from them, and we will give you enough time to ask us questions. So if you have any questions, usually we take the questions at last, but if you feel that you have any questions, please raise your hand and we can try to answer that question then and there. So let me start first with Debashish. Can you please provide your opening remark on this topic? Because as I understand that all four of us comes from different industries. So dealing with the white collar crime will have a different perspective per se in industry specific way. So if you can give your opening remark and tell us what are the things that you feel is very necessary from the aftermath of a white collar crime.
Thank you, Shubhajit, and good afternoon to you all. As Shubhajit has said, it's very difficult, this post-lunch session, sir. But yeah, as far as my opening remarks are concerned, basically, since we are here to do the post-mortem part, so the entire discussion would be revolving around kind of what are the processes, policies, and plans what an organization should look into after they are coming into, after they have faced these kind of challenges. But just to keep it short, as far as my opening remark is concerned, what my understanding about this entire subject is, it's more about substance over form rather than form over substance. Because we know everything starts with processes and policies in place in an organization when you talk about the post and the aftermath effects. But I think it should have the substance rather than simple defined policies and forms what we normally, most of the organizations kind of follow. That's point number one. And point number two, what I understand basically is, it is not about only that we are defining those structures and things and all. The training and development and that kind of awareness also becomes extremely important for any organization, irrespective of sectors and all. Because until and unless we have those training and awareness models and starting from the bottom to top, probably you will not be able to do justice to this entire scenario. So that would be the second thing which I will pick. And the third most important aspect, I think we have witnessed a lot of sessions prior to this, and I think a lot of speakers have said different aspects about how whistleblowers status or how whistleblower things are looked at from Indian angle. My understanding on this is that we need to have a good regulatory overdrive on these important areas, be it from the fraud detection, be it from the AML, be it from whistleblower, be it from anything. I think we have laws here and there, but probably we need to see a clear kind of a framework from a government And also, there should not be any knee-jerk reaction what we do. Obviously, most of the laws as we amend, be the Companies Act, fraud is defined or something like that. It's more of my understanding, it's a knee-jerk reaction. But you should have a more well-defined structures in place if you have to handle this particular menace. So these will be my opening remarks. As we go along, obviously, I'll share more thoughts. I'm happy to share more my understanding on this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Devashish. Another very important thing in Indian legislation and what we have seen is that we are more reactive than proactive. Anything happens and then we think what we need to do under law, which law we can take in, how we can define a law, and how the coverage of the law can be taken forward to cover such a thing which is there, as simple as a white-collar crime. So maybe a white-collar crime which is defined as a non-violent crime, basically, where there is no, and where you use your brains to provide, to do that kind of a deceit or whatever, intellectual theft and everything. So on the basis of that, Asim, if you can put forth your points and what are the things that you will look to cover or in this session of discussion.
Thanks, Suvajit. So I think as regards the legislation around white-collar crime, I would say that we have enough and lot of legislations around it, like you have the Indian Penal Code, you have the Prevention of Corruption Act for corruption in white-collar crimes in public offices, like you have a regulator as efficient and as alert as SEBI. But the problem here is, and we also have the PMLA, the problem is it's all it's all spread across different jurisdictions. Each regulator has its own jurisdiction. There's an overlap of jurisdiction, and which is what causes a lot of delays in the investigations, if you see. So suppose a perpetrator has been arrested for a white-collar crime. The authorities have then have to wait for their turn to investigate, interrogate, and then do the investigation. So I feel that there should be some effort into channelizing these laws in relation to white-collar crime as far as frauds are concerned, where public interest is involved at large. I think that would help in also providing speedy justice and also helping the regulators act in a time-bound manner.
Thanks, Asim. So I want, that's a very important thing that you have touched upon, that how the regulators can help us to take it forward. So from the perspective of the white-collar crime, I just wanted to, I was reading about it in the past week, and I was reading about a topic, and I will be discussing that in the topic is that how a white-collar crime turns into a red-collar crime. So a red-collar crime is basically when you see a key witness or a key investigator just all of a sudden dies out of that because they don't want that information to come out or something. I think that has also become very important, and that has become an aftermath of the white-collar crime, where there are people who has certain kind of evidences which is there, and they are silenced by certain people who are there. So if you look at from white-collar crime, it's not a vandalism, it's not a shoplifting. It's something for which people has to use their intellect. And with the advent of AI and all the advancement of technology, we see that white-collar crime is also taking different forms. We will, in our discussion, touch upon some white-collar crimes which you have all seen, and of course, you have all dealt with it in a different way as per the requirement. But I will just touch upon one very important thing. That's white-collar crime is a victimless crime. But what happens is that a lot of time, if you have been a part of the fraud, you don't want to come out and talk about it. You feel that you in the corporate sector, people will make fun of it. Why? That you are not having that much of security, that much of understanding of what needs to be done, what. So that's something also on which we will be talking about it. And now I will reach out to Flora to give her opening remark about the session.
Hello everyone. Thanks, Vojit. It was a nice session. Since morning, we have heard about from other panelists about this white-collar crime management and what are the efficacies which we are doing. And the current session which we are dealing with on the post-mortem. So post-mortem of any investigation, it's not an easy task, After once we detect that something has been happened, as it rightly mentioned by Suvajit. people rather gets reactive than think about how needs to do. So when the reaction comes, so everybody will go ahead and start working on their do's and don'ts, SOPs, what needs to be done, how to tackle this, whether the PR team needs to get involved, which all the departments should be involved. So rather than reactive, we feel that we need to think diligently, patiently look into how this has been happened. And there is not a legal department or risk or internal audit department should be a part. We need to get covered in all areas. We need to talk to the down level teams, the executives, how things have been occur in general, not disclosing about the white collar crime investigation is on, because the more you be open to all the team members, executive, and the personnel in the company, you'll be getting to know more info. And yes, awareness, as rightly mentioned by the other panelists, awareness is a main task, including the training. So it has to be an on-site or off-site, which can be developing the teammates in that awareness, getting awareness, do ongoing trainings, give a regular audit, and you have to have a really stringent internal control, what would you believe. So these are the forums which we feel we can touch base more. Till then, that's over to you, Sujit.
Thank you. Let me ask a question to the people here. How many of you in your company or have white-collar training programs? Everybody now has an ABAC program, which is anti-bribery and anti-corruption. How many of you have a white-collar training program? Yeah, that's what I'm telling. So the thing is, that there is no sensitization. There is no thing. A lot of companies says that we have a whistleblower policy. Of course, we have a whistleblower. Do you know what it is there? How it's defined? What is there? It's there because it's a checkbox on the checklist. Basically, it's a checklist thing which you have done. I have taken it up. I have not naming company. I have seen white collar policy which is copied from somewhere where they have not taken the pain to change the name of the company. They've kept the name also same. So we can understand from where it is taken. So from that perspective, the understanding of white collar crime in India is at a very nascent level. There are few people, and I know there are people who are sitting in this room who will be knowing about white collar crime, that there are people who are outside, who are there, who are operating or who are executing certain things. They're not aware of what exactly is a white collar crime. We become aware of certain things when we hear that a journalist was doing something about something, a detective who was doing something, a whistleblower who was doing something has been bumped off. And then we say, oh, this has happened, he was part of that. So that is what is the thing. So white collar, when we say, when we say that there are no, it's a non-violent crime, it's nobody is getting only money, that is not true. The repercussion of it has been multifold. So from that perspective, I'll ask any of our panelists to give the perspective of what, as per their industry, is the understanding of white collar in their industry. So we deal with, being lawyers, we deal with management on a regular basis. So when we go and tell this and explain this to our management, first thing is they have is fear. Second thing they have is that they are not knowledgeable about it. And what steps should we take from the training and sensitization perspective to make people more aware of it?
No, I think that's a very important question, Suvajit, what you have raised actually. So as you have rightly pointed out, like I think there are very few persons who have proper white collar training programs in their organizations and all, because white collar crime, or for that matter the financial crime what we call about, is more kind of what we see through newspapers, through other experiences and all. Probably until and unless an organization experiences on its own, so it becomes very difficult to say exactly, oh, these are the challenges what we have faced. So in my career, whatever white collar crimes what I have faced in my my previous organizations and all, that was mainly relating to your supply chain management, or fraud emanating from procurement team, or fraud emanating from other sources on crime billings and all those things and all. So the point what I'm just trying to drive home over here is that we obviously need to understand what is the source of those kind of those crimes actually. If you see any behavioral change, as I think some of the speakers have already pointed out in the previous sessions, is there any behavioral change? Is there any kind of request what we are receiving which is not making kind of a sense? So probably we need to have proper investigations around it. So I think the point over here is that if you are driving or deriving a policy or structuring a policy and all, where you are talking about incident response mechanism, we are talking about technology use, you're talking about forensics, or you're talking about collaboration between regulators and the entities and all. The point is whether we are simply putting it in black and white, or we are also applying it in our system. So it might be through awareness sessions, it might be through some sandbox kind of an environment, or it might be through some proper training and all, experts from outside and all. So the substance part has become extremely important. We can write umpteen number of things in our policies, we can write lot of things in our guides and manuals and all. But the thing is how we are kind of learning from other sources or other experiences, that becomes very important. Just couple of examples I wanted to give. So I was just going through a survey, very recent survey. It was saying some human tendency and behavioral things which has come out. And I think some of the big four participants were also there. So they said, in most of the white collar crimes, so if I talk about inside and outside involvement, so 32% is involvement is from the inside and rest are from outside at times. And out of those 32%, 25 to 26% is from top management, around 30% in the middle management, and around 34 to 35% in the lower management. So that's what I found. That is one point. Second thing, what they have said, like if someone is doing a white collar crime, like an individual, it is found that he is the only individual in his family who has done in his entire lifetime. So that's one survey which has come out. And the third survey which is there is that around 6 to 7% only females are involved only in white collar crimes. So these are some of the statistics which is given as on January 2024 while they are doing a lot of kind of research and all. So my moot point of saying all this is that the fact that we need to have regulator like regulator and organization kind of combination, we need to have all those incident response protocols need to be taken seriously in terms of training as well as implementation. Forensics, what we are talking about, I think Amita was talking a lot of wonderful points in terms of forensic investigation using of AI and all. Whether that particular AI is going to help us in our organization or not, it is not a random AI we are picking. We are saying it's a predictive AI or generative AI, but whether it is going to help us in solving our problems or not, or whatever kind of algorithms or SQLs or Pythons we're using, whether it is going to help us in solving those issues, that is the moot question. And that when I am going to my senior management, obviously I would like to see like these are the pain points we are addressing, and that's why we are having a policy, those things with proper trainings and awareness. So I think it has to be a holistic approach. It cannot be a one size fits all for all solution. And we need to learn from all those experiences and all things from other organizations and have to apply this in our own system. I think that's the best way of handling these things. Yeah.
Aseem.
So Devashish made a very important point here in relation to having a tailored approach to white collar crime rather than having a one size fits all, because we get to know about white collar crimes which are in the public domain, especially with respect to listed companies, but a lot of it goes unnoticed because it may be happening in a private company or a smaller company which is not into the which is not covered by the press. So I think we need to evaluate our internal protocols with respect to white collar crime, and also at the same time sensitize the organization. And it can't be just limited to legal team or the finance team, sensitizing people by conducting regular workshops or training sessions. It has to be an inclusive approach by different aspects of the business, different teams of the business, because every team, there could be a possible that something might spill over in some team in a different manner. So it can't be just agar white collar crime hai, to it will happen only in finance team, or something from the legal could be involved. So there has to be a holistic approach of looking at the entire organization as a whole. And secondly, what I believe is like we all have a lot of policies like whistleblower policy. Again, whistleblower policy is not mandatory for all the companies. It's only for certain set of companies, especially listed companies and unlisted public companies above certain thresholds. But we all need to, I think the problem here is we as an organization, we need to ensure that our people are aware of what could be viewed as a white collar crime, and then accordingly frame your ERP systems, your enterprise systems in a way that any leakage is in a time-bound manner on a real-time basis detected. So I think there has to be a collaborative approach rather than putting it only on the finance and the legal to take care of these incidents?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very important point. So, white collar crimes can be tackled only by collaboration and not by competition. What I mean by this is that sometimes the department says that, oh, this is not our thing. I think somebody from your team did this. So this is, and so that's the way you want to paint the picture in front of management. So the thing is that, of course, white collar crime has happened. There is a loss. There is a loss, a reputational loss. There is a financial loss. How do we deal with it to make sure that we have the aftermath is at a least stage? Also, another thing I wanted to touch upon, and Flora, I will take your points on that before I will move on to the point. So please, if you can provide your perspective on the, from industry perspective, what do you feel is required to make sure that we curtail the menace of white collar crime?
Thanks, Subhojit. As rightly pointed out by Aseem, like, yes, white collar crimes has to be a collaborative approach. Yes, we have all talked about the legal department, finance department, but having my experience in medical device industries, I'm basically from medical device industries, and having enriched experience getting into this, and being a legal, we are always a business enabler. So I have come across a white collar crime approach into a sales effect. Sales, being in this industry, sales people are always on the field. They are connected with the end-to-end customers, sometimes end-to-end business dealers, right? So they know what are the pros and cons, how to manage, how to tackle everybody. And once it is an MNC, so everybody is pretty aligned, like, okay, these are do's and don'ts, we can do this way, or we can skip away in this way. So nobody looks into it. So HR knows, okay, they are doing their job, they are taking care of their targets, finance is happy, oh, target is coming, revenue बढ़ रहा है, so nobody questions about. But when we as a business enabler get into it and instigate what is happening, how these numbers are coming, whether there is any helping out required on the dealers, so we generally come across on the 360-degree survey feedback, which has been run over for all the RBMs as well as on the management team, to see whether any down-level team has raised anything. Yes, being a listed company, there's a whistleblower policy, but when it is a private limited company, we don't come across such things. Yeah, there are regular, normally training goes on, which is a mandate you need to complete, or else the mail keeps popping up, and then your manager is updating you, you have to complete this training. So nobody take that seriously. Yes, but only for the do sake people are doing. But when we have an awareness or a dealing program, or where we gather team or other departments, so we connect and we question them how you deal, or how the executives are dealing, what the sales people are doing. So in this industry, we also deal with the KOLs. So when it comes as everybody must be aware of, the latest regulation on NPPA was very much in the news for the margin stake. So government has kept a cap of 8% margin, but earlier the dealers and other KOLs were enjoying the other services. So hence, how to recover those? So there are many other services or many other forums which has been dealt. So how people are taking care of, whether any other executive or sales team are getting linked with it. So we have to be with the team, be in the field to see how things are going, and then we need to give a watch out or intimate it, not as a whistleblower, or intimate them, okay, you can share things, what is happening, we can keep that confidential, so that the executive level or any team member for any department is escalating, is because of fear of losing job, they are being silent. So we need to give them a confidence, it will be a confidential matter, so then we can escalate these things. So these are the fronts where we have escape, and based on that, necessary investigation has been taken care of. Thanks.
Yeah. I think that's a very important point, where India has this fear psychosis. They feel that if I tell this, it will become public. So the thing is that as an Indian and corporate setup, I feel that we fail as to keep information confidential. There are numerous ways of information which get leaked, and I have seen this across entities, across companies, where there are certain times where people feel that, okay, this is harmless, they tell this to them person this way, and then it goes out. From that perspective, what happens is that the person who is informed, that person has fear of what I will say, corporate ostracism. So basically, they will be, everybody has friends everywhere in the company. They will say, no, this person is not, they will not say anything like that, this person is not easy to work with, and this person is not very cooperative. The Cooperative is a very, very dangerous term in corporate parlance. Everybody needs to understand from that perspective. So the very important thing is that we do not have enough people sensitization where they can feel and confident enough that if they feel there are certain things which are happening which can come under the enlistment of white collar crime, they should inform it to the compliance department, to the HR department, and or to the. Similarly, as Flora said, it's a very, very dangerous situation when your sales team becomes more powerful than your compliance team. And in Indian companies, there are been thing where everybody says if the AOP is met, if the targets are met, you do it by anyways. The thing is that what we say as a process is that there is no cost of compliance. The cost of compliance is basically your company. The company can close down if there is a proper legal sanctions and everything is put in. So from that perspective, now let me come to my next point, which is basically how do you feel with the advent of technology, how do you feel you need to use of forensics, incident response tools and everything to curtail the things which is there, and how do you feel that we can do certain effective mechanism to make sure that we value the confidentiality of the information, and what do you feel is the way best practice for storing of such an information when if there is a bigger legal case or bigger legal investigation needs to be done, the witnesses needs to be protected, and we need to, what protective measures are required?
Shubhajit, I will take your last point first. So as you mentioned about data protection or data privacy measures and all, so I think someone was saying in one of the previous sessions, basically it becomes kind of a dichotomy, like when you are kind of doing an investigation in terms of whistleblower and all, at the same time government is coming then and saying like you have a data privacy law where you cannot kind of disclose or take their consent, and all. Obviously a whistleblower is not going to give his consent to say that those things would be, you can go and do the investigation. So obviously we need to see and how we can put a semblance or kind of a balance on those key issues. That becomes extremely important. So like how you're managing the data privacy law as well as the investigation part. So that's one thing.
So Devashit,
Yeah.
on this only,
Yeah.
that is the problem. We always
Yeah.
have a knee-jerk reaction. Something happens
Absolutely.
and then we say, oh, let us do this, let us do this. Until and unless we thought through this process. So if you look how laws are made in EU or say and how laws are made in India, there have been laws which are passed in the past few years where there was not a consultation paper. It was put in the parliament, it was passed. So you can understand the process has changed. So we need to have a better understanding from, not we, but the government regulators also need to have a better collective effort for making that law effective so that there is no dichotomy.
Absolutely. So I think the data privacy law, I'm just digressing, like data privacy law is a best example. Like you have a law which was kind of based on Aadhaar judgment, you went in 2018, you have the first paper, then you have JPCs and all, and finally you see the light of the day on 2023. Still are waiting for the circulars and notifications and all. So yeah, you are absolutely right on that count. So that's the first piece of it. So obviously you need to have all those consultation papers and all. When you are drafting such an important legislation, whether you are kind of including all those nuances or all those important items also in terms of frauds and crimes and all. So that's the first part of it. In terms of your earlier point with respect to use of AI and all, in terms of doing a white collar kind of investigations and all, obviously my answer is big yes, because the way those perpetrators are kind of going ahead in terms of white collar crimes and all, I think a manual kind of an exercise or kind of a policy and training is not going to be helpful only. We need to have the best practices. So ironically, I was just speaking to someone from last week only, partner of a forensic division of a Big Four, and he was telling me that like the way the things are going actually, so we have to at least be at least 1 or 2 steps ahead of what these perpetrators are thinking, because gone are the days we come out with our technology and solutions and you are finding that perpetrators would be taken care of. That's not the thing which is happening, and they are finding an enormous number of cases which they are going beyond in many of the cases. So the latest technology and all these things, these are all given. But the thing is that how those technologies, the AIs, be the generative or be the predictive, because predictive in this case, because you can analyze like what kind of crimes which has happened earlier, you can predict those scenarios and you can devise a proper strategy around that. So obviously that's the thing. Apart from that, all those algorithms and all what we have already discussed over it. So instead of going into the technicalities of all those technologies, what I'm trying to drive home over here is that whatever technology you use, be it the AI, be it the SQL, so be it whatever, Python and all, that should be an absolute response to the mechanisms and the structures what we are going to kind of build, because that should be an enabler. And we should also be having thought processes around it, how it is going to help us. It might vary from organization to organization. See, mine is a fintech entity. So obviously the processes and systems and the technology what I'm using for a fintech entity, it might be a bit different for my industry or some other industry. So I need to understand all those aspects and then use the technology as an enabler to solve those issues. So that's the second thing. And third thing you have mentioned about? Incident response tool, yeah. So incident response tool is something which is extremely important, because although the nomenclature says incident response tools, it talks about how we are reacting to that situation. And my kind of response to this is that you cannot react to a situation until and unless you are prepared. It cannot be a scenario, okay, like I don't have anything, and all of a sudden all hell broke loose and I am just trying to kind of go and doing all those incident response mechanisms. I have already mentioned the policies, trainings and all should be kind of stringent enough so that when these situations come, because we cannot guarantee that situation won't occur. It's going to occur at any given point of time, but we need to see that our incident response protocols are adequate enough or fit enough to handle those scenarios. It might be a collaboration between the outsiders and insiders or the regulators and us. It might be what is the response mechanism. It might be how soon, swiftly we are handling that situation. It might be a single kind of, a normal kind of a complaint, how soon it is going dealt with, how senior management is kind of reacting to it. Because very recently I've seen a newspaper article where some few crore of fraud happened, and a company of 50,000 to 60,000 crore turnover company said, "Abe, chhod do, ho gaya, let's forget about it." So I think if you are approaching those kind of, you are going by that kind of mindset, so obviously things are not going to be better. So I think it should be a combination of all these factors, which is going to give us a strategy and a wherewithal to handle this kind of challenges. So that would be my thought. Yeah.
Doshi, that is good. So I will say that marginal errors and set off for some amount of 5 or 6 crore for a big company is sometimes seen off as nothing. So that's what I'm telling. The reputational damage that brings along with the financial damage of white collar crime, sometimes it becomes very, very important. And as I speak about the preventive AI or a generative AI, you have to understand, the problem is that a lot of people feel that ChatGPT is AI. No, it's not. So what does AI does? AI makes sure that AI follows a pattern. And once they understand the regular pattern which is there, they can predict that this can happen, that can happen. And it becomes very important to do a wise use of such technology and to learn, because technology here is not trying to, that is another question which is their classic question, technology will replace lawyers and this. Technology comes in as an enabler, and if you are a lawyer who is technology enabled, I think you cannot be replaced. And I believe that technology has become a part and parcel of modern legal system, and for any like incident response tool or for forensics, and how we can effectively use the technology to get a solution in a fast-paced way. I'll now ask Asim to put forth his points on how incidents tools and forensics are used in his experience in the institutions where he has worked.
So, before I touch upon that, you made an interesting point about reputational damage. So, while trying to cover up the reputational damage that the white collar crime has caused, people unknowingly, unintentionally also end up destructing the evidence, which further adds to your misery, because though you should have been reactive enough to understand what needs to be done, and rather than covering up, you need to ring the alarm bells internally. So as regards your question on what was the question? Incident response tool. So I think as regards e-commerce companies, I think the biggest challenge here is the data protection here, because being an e-commerce company, we have seen in certain other e-commerce companies where the details of customers, of the suppliers, those have been leaked to outsiders for some minimal gains, for some financial gains, and as a result of which it resulted in a lot of loss of business for the organization. So here, where we are dealing with a lot of individuals, a lot of businesses, where customer data is at the center, a lot of importance needs to be given to the confidentiality. And rather talking about Devashish has already spoken about a lot of things that we need to do, wherein AI and ML can help you understand the patterns, and wherein you can, train your internal systems. But I feel we should also look into the aspect of how you react to these things once these things happen. That is also of importance. I believe the reaction to a white collar crime or other incident reporting should be first is to prevent rather contain the fraud. Secondly, to secure evidence, and then to reduce the damage. So that is the approach that should be followed when you are dealing with white collar crime.
Thank you. That destruction of evidence is something which I want to touch upon. So, in my previous workplaces, I was working with someone, and somebody was sent to collect the evidence of a CPU. That time, desktop used to be there, and this was I was in Bombay. This was in Pune. This something was happening. That guy was told. Funnily, somebody sent me a picture. He had kept the CPU as a pillow while coming by train, and he was sleeping on it. So you can understand that he does not even he was told to bring the CPU for forensic evidence, digital forensics, and this is how he brings it. So, and I'm not blaming him. Nobody told him that how you need to collect the evidence, how you need to bring it. It becomes a very important problem, as that's what is the thing. Maybe in a training, I will do a corporate training for my management, for my directors. 75 directors will attend it, they will listen to it. But the people who are implementing it, or the people who will be doing it on the ground level, that things becomes very important. And I am harping on this fact because as corporate India, we have never seen such an importance given to white collar crime, because there have been lot of, what I will say, for ABAC, there have been a lot of penalties, a lot of convictions happening for anti-bribery and anti-corruption. That's the reason India have become serious about it. I think it's high time for us to become serious about white collar crime also. Okay, now I go to Flora for her in the response on the incident response tools and forensics.
Yes, as rightly mentioned by all the panelists here, incident will happen for each and every company, whether it is a listed company, private, or a partnership firm. So for such incidents, yes, every company do have their own SOPs, training, programs, planning. But yes, we need to be aware that we need to have a holistic approach and keep reviewing doubts, whether it is on monthly basis or quarterly basis. So if you can do that as a governance purpose, that will be good. Yes, and considering our industry, yes, we do have all SOPs, we follow the process. But yes, if you're onboarding, this is a navigation tool which other companies also might do. Like we are onboarding all the dealers, we do have a navigation tool. Before any dealer comes or any we do a due diligence, whether he has any criminal records or not, whether he has any instigation. So we are considering little safe enough, no matter whether we are very eager to have those dealers on board for our business. But yes, we are also considering the efficacy and the liability, whether we can face while doing the business with him. So these are the tools which is very prior that yes, companies should follow. And considering AI coming in picture, there are many other tools coming on those investigations, follow up the criminal records, and there are limited companies, those who believe that yes, litigation is an approach where you can go file, but it takes time, it is time consuming, the cost and everything. So being into global and geographical countries, they don't really entertain going into litigations unless it is a very severe thing and something investigation come across, whether it is a white collar or any fraud, then they like to take a call immediately based on the evidence, and they take whether it is to be asking the employees to resigns or fine for a penalty or whatever they decide they can do it. But yes, Indian government now the regulation has come up on things where we are telling about the data privacy in the medical device industries where I am into dental equipments. So we also catered with Atomic Energy Board, which is very few things which come across earlier, even I was not aware. But now if you see lately, while a month ago, we have come across that even the Indian Regulation Atomic Energy Board is asking a consent for an individual or a company that the name, the address, the mobile number, whatever you are giving, it's accurate and nobody will use it other than you. There will be only one user. So which is a good thing which we are coming up. And yes, DPDP Act is also slowly getting involved. So it's a good that we have to be incident enough that we know everything what we are doing and follow the approach. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so just one, as we are talking about checks and balances, incident response mechanism and all. So one of the things, see, I'll take the example of under AML. So basically, we are talking about frauds and all. So see, since I am from a fintech space actually, so when we receive kind of requests from our sales guys and all that we have approached a client in falana country and all. So one of the basic checks what we do is that we go to the FATF check, list actually. So whether that particular country, that client is from which particular country and what kind of, whether that country is under blacklist or grey list and all those kind of things. So we do that checking actually. So it might happen at times कि like the sales guys are coming after our ने करना ही हमें उनके साथ deal करना है. So those are the things, those are the calls what I think it becomes extremely important for someone from regulatory and legal team that they are taking those actions and which might help the company going ahead and save their face actually and save a lot of money also. So I think those are the checks and balances in different sectors or different phases what definitely we as a legal team or regulatory team can definitely look into. Yeah.
Surely. So I'll tell that FATF or OFAC countries or something, which has become a very, very important part. And I think almost all international MNCs have started investing on a department called International Trade Compliance, which is not really the legal team. But whenever a new vendor or a new dealer is being boarded, they will do the due diligence about the same party. So a lot of times it is seen that maybe the entity per se is in one country, but the person or the directors for that will be from an OFAC nation, or who has a controlling stake over it. Because there are a lot of shell companies where people take it, people just make sure the company is there somewhere, and so there is a concept of POEM basically. The place of effective management becomes very, very important in this case, where these people who are there, where a country is not really banned, but the military junta or somebody who is there, who is ruling the place, and what kind of a stake is that person owning. So a lot of time you get questions like this: do you have any interest with anyone in the government? So we sometimes used to feel, why are they asking this? The only reason is that they don't want something that cannot lift the corporate veil, basically. There's something cannot happen in the direct way, it cannot happen in the indirect way. That brings me to another very important question right now is that when Edward Sutherland in 1939 thought about defining white-collar crime, I think he never thought of a Ponzi scheme, or what happens with Satyam, or what happens with Enron, or of recently the Morgan Stanley scam and everything. So in light of that, these are the most famous, the poster boys of white-collar crime. What do you feel these kind of sensitization in India across our, how this kind of media coverage on this does it have helped India to be more aware of it, or do you feel that this kind of reporting, because certain times the reporting has been not very responsible per se. A lot of things have been given out to public in media which should not have been given out. They resulted in a lot of things. I'm not touching upon those issues, but the responsible reporting of such white-collar crime has also become very important. And I just wanted to get your response on that.
Yeah, absolutely, Shobhaji. There's no two ways about it, actually. I think, basically, as we consider media as the fourth pillar of Indian constitutions in that way. So I think, yeah, so I think the term what you have rightly used, the responsible reporting, because that becomes extremely important. Like what we have seen in the cases right from Enron and WorldCom to Satyam and like a lot of Ponzi schemes, what has happened in Calcutta, West Bengal and all. So I think the depositors were duped like anything. Yeah, Sahara being another case. The depositors were duped like anything in terms of under the garb of different scheme, OFCD, OFCA and all those kind of stuffs. But yeah, I think those reportings by those media definitely has helped to a large extent to kind of make the people at important places who they were made aware ki, like these are the issues which were happening and they have to take it seriously. That has really helped. And so I think and I think the another role which probably I don't know whether Subhajit you have later on or not, I think one of the key roles what is being played in this kind of scenario is the role of whistleblowers. I think that becomes extremely important because it is through whistleblower only we got to know about what has happened in some of the recent bank cases, what we know, I'm not naming the banks and all. Through whistleblowers only we got to know about the Madoff scheme or other scams and all. So I think they become very, very important and very critical in these kind of scenarios. And so the way we are kind of treating the whistleblowers, what kind of security and safety we are giving and all, I think that becomes extremely important. In fact, I will go a step further by saying that we have whistleblower policies, mechanisms in SEBI guidelines, LODR, everything is there. But I think time has now come that we should have a Whistleblowers Act also for private sector and all, because we have a Whistleblower Act for government thing and all. But for private sector, I think that's also become applicable. Yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, I think they play a very critical role, but their role needs to be looked into very clearly. They should not go overboard on it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have, okay. Yeah.
So role of media, I think, is very important here, as Debashish and Subhajit both commented on it, because unless it is reported in media, I think there is not much interest created around it. And then it also, puts pressure on the investigating authorities also to take the right action and to not be lenient with anybody involved in the crime. A recent example would be the Pune Porsche case, where about the road accident. So initially the plan was to let the child go off by just writing an essay, 300 words essay. But later on, when there was a hue and cry created in the media, people got to know about this issue. The authorities started doing their job. So a lot of times we have seen that there are people who are within the regulators and other government bodies involved hand in gloves with the perpetrators. So it is very important that media plays its role does its job in the right way and asks the right question. So that's the limited point I would make in relation to role of media in case of white collar crimes.
No, that's what it's a double-edged sword. So when, as someone said, that if you have 99 ways to frame the law, the person who wants to break the law, there's 100 ways to break it. So it's how you utilize it, at least for the sensitization. And I was reading a statistics day before yesterday. It was very fair. How many of us now read newspapers? Not many. Now the content is consumed maybe through Instagram, through Facebook. So short clips and everything is what we are getting. So that's what is the thing. The way is, if our media does not take a responsibility, as you say, the Porsche case was all over Instagram, the Porsche case was all over Facebook. So that's why people being aware of it. So if a news comes out only in a print media, or it is covered by some news channel somewhere, it just not goes out and people are not aware of it. And until we hear about it, we will not be aware of it. We can say that India has so many laws, but until there is a PMLA case which is there, now people say, oh, this law is there, this law can do this law can do that. But that's the thing. So India is a country which is flooded with laws. But we really don't know what is the applicable law for what sector, what part. Okay, I'll give Flora the approach to tell us what is her thought process from the media line, and then I will finish up the things, and then I will take questions. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'll be happy to take it.
So for my thought on role of media is, yes, it depends on business to business and industry. Though we are from governance and legal side, we are already giving our thoughts and investigation details with our do's and don'ts, along with the evidence. But when it comes to media, definitely it's a PR team and marketing team who takes call aligned with the help of the management and board. So apart on that front, on media front, I won't be able to comment much because it's not my era to look into. Thanks.
No problem, and I'll take the last 30 seconds each from all of you on what do you feel, we have talked about what is not good, what is not working. Tell us what is the way forward from your perspective, which will make India a more white collar reporting and solving friendly country. So what is your, and please don't take more than say 45 seconds.
No, Subhajit, the very reason that we are having this confabulation all throughout the day is a testimony to the fact that this is an extremely serious topic. And so obviously what we need to do is to build our kind of infrastructure, I think have proper awareness and sensitization policies, take the best use of technology, be the AI, ML and whatever, and just think forward how you can tackle this scenario. So it's better that we are well equipped to handle these things rather than just think about this after it happens and all. So that would be my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I think that's, first we need to acknowledge that it exists. We have to acknowledge the monster in the room, and then we need to find out strategies to how to deal with it. The problem with a lot of corporates in India is that they ignore the problem. Still it becomes a menace. Yeah, Asim.
I think important point here would be, combining all the laws together, because like you have different regulators like the Enforcement Directorate, CBI, SEBI, RBI, all of them doing their independent investigations, and which is causing an overlap of investigation and delays the entire process of delivering justice. So I think we should come up with a uniform, or rather something in relation to white collar crime. We should come up with something similar to like a uniform civil code, so to say. So I think the laws should be all made uniform, or rather centralized in case of a white collar crime.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach, telling that we need to have one law, and maybe all the laws across the what I will say, in the island of laws which is there in India, it should come in one place, and we should know what exactly need to be implemented on that. Yeah, Flora?
I would like to say 3 points. Yes, we need to have a stringent internal control, regular review of audit, and lastly, transparency in financial process. That's how we can control the white collar crime and process on. Thank you.